Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from BoardGameCo, and today I'm doing a channel update video. I haven't done one of these in a while, and I think I just get so caught up in all the things that have to happen on a weekly basis that sometimes I forget about all the things I once wanted to do. This is part and parcel of, well, running a channel for one, but also life in general, and there's so many things we try to do on a regular, ongoing basis, and we succeed at a lot of those things. Pat yourself on the back for all the things you are doing well. But not everything gets done the way we want. Not everything falls into plan the way we want. There are so many things I've always wanted to do, either personally, professionally, on the channel. At any given point, I'm juggling 17 things, catching 12 of them, intentionally putting 4 down, and one of them is crashing and burning along the way. That's just life. That's not even a channel update. That's just life in general. A long time. Okay, let's divide this into a few things. I'm going to divide this into a few general categories. We're going to do a channel kind of conversation. There's nothing dramatic here. I'm not shutting down the channel unless the Patreon increases. None of those, by the way. Check out the Dragon's Tomb video. Oh my gosh, I love Jeff and the Dragon's Tomb. Hilarious, but also his channel update recently was on point. But yeah, the channel's not shutting down. There's no like major... Honestly, you could never watch this video and you won't miss anything important. But if you do just want to have a conversation about stuff going on and where the channel started, how it evolved, where things are nowadays, I'll be talking about the channel a little bit. I'll be talking about... Sorry. I'll be talking about Gamefound a little bit as well, my evolution and my role there and how things have evolved over time. I might get into general life stuff. I say might because I find sometimes I have all these intents of, you know, to talk about like life, but then it goes into like I'm traveling and playing board games and not a ton to go into. But we'll see. We'll see what we get into. Let's start off with the first part, and this is going to be all over the place. I may not timestamp this in detail. I might divide it into like channel, Gamefound, and the rest. I might, I don't know. Or I might go into detail. We shall see. I don't have a script for this video. I just have I never have a script. I have bullet points. I don't have bullet points for this video. I just have the knowledge that I'm trying to hit 3 general categories. Let's talk about the channel first. The channel's doing well. It's doing well, but also not well at the same time. And I think that's normal from talking to larger channels in the space, from talking to others who have been here before I have. This seems to be a very common arc of YouTube of how it works. What I mean by that is right now we're at 64,000 subscribers, which is amazing. Thank you so much to all of you. I currently get around 400,000 monthly views right now at any given point. I'm currently doing around $1,500 a month in terms of the revenue I get. The ad revenue I get from the channel is around $1,500 a month, which is good. All those numbers are good. But the only one that's actually the highest is 64,000 subscribers. That's always creeping up. Subscribers always go up over time. If you have a channel for a long enough time, it will go up. More people stay subscribed and don't watch than those that drop away, or more people are added than those that are leaving. The other numbers are often not always going up. I'm sorry, I have a tickle in my throat. Not cold or anything, totally fine, but whatever. Anyways, the other numbers are not always going up. When I first started the channel, it was nothing. It was dribbling, you know, a dozen views here, a dozen views there, slowly creeping up to, ooh, I got 150 views on a video. I remember the first time I got 3,000 views on a video. I think it was either my Marvel United video or my, like, how to keep a lean collection video. One of those two I was doing, and they both did well, but those are my 2 videos that did well initially. And it took a while before, like, I could expect a video to get 3,000 views, but I was like, oh my gosh, 3,000 people watched this video, and it was insane, and I was grateful for it, and I'm still grateful for it. I remember when I first started to grow, I committed in a video, I think I was like putting out an update and thank you every 1,000 subscribers. I was like, I will do this forever. Every time I get 1,000 subscribers, it deserves a video. I was wrong about that. Not to say it doesn't deserve a video, but I don't want to clog the channel with unnecessary videos, but I guess I never anticipated that I would ever be at 64,000 subscribers. It seemed like one of those things you're so grateful for every degree of progress. And again, I want to be very clear here. We're going to be going through a bit of a journey in a conversation. I want to be so clear about how ridiculously grateful I am for the life I have and for the part that you all play in it. This is not a complaining video at all. In the slightest, I will be talking about arcs and ebbs and flows in both the channel as well as Gamefound. I'll be going into some of these things, but there's not a single complaint going on here. I'm truly grateful for the life that I have, and every single one of you here watching, subscribing, member or not, whether you're a Patreon, Ko-Fi, viewer, subscriber, sharer, or whether you even leave an angry comment here and there, every single one of you has been contributing to what my life is able to be, and for that, straight up, off the board, thank you. But going back to the channel, the arc, so, you know, eventually I got to a point where I started to actually see growth. And there was like a point, I don't remember the exact point, but like maybe between 3,000 subscribers to like 15,000 subscribers, or maybe even like 3,000 to 20,000, there was a point where the channel started to shoot up. And I do think some channels experience this arc when they were lucky enough to hit enough of a mainstream that they're able to like pull people in. People who are like, ooh, who's this guy? I've never seen him before. And they watch him on this Kickstarter campaign or that video, and things start to blow up as you start to become exposed to the general board game space. So you start to see that growth, that trajectory, which is, I'm incredibly grateful for it. Again, that's what helped me go from this small guy doing videos as a side thing to, oh my gosh, I might be able to do this full time with my life. And so I did that. Well, not I did that. The channel did that. It kind of arced towards a point where there was a lot of increasing numbers. I would say that I watched the numbers. I tracked the numbers very aggressively for a while, and I watched the ad revenue go up. I watched the monthly views go up. I think at my peak, I was at around 500,000 monthly views. Again, right now, when I say peak, I don't mean the highest month. I mean the highest general ongoingness was around 500,000 views a month. Maybe 1 month I hit 550 when I was doing my top 100. Maybe there was even a month when I hit 600. But I'd say in general, I hit a general normal peak of around 500,000 views a month, along with around $2,500 a month. And again, if you remember, the numbers are closer to 400,000 and 1,500 right now. The numbers have gone down over time, and again, from what I see and expect, that is normal. That's part of the process. At this point, the goal is to stabilize, less so than grow, which might be a short-sighted viewpoint. Like, I'm not like ambitious. I never have been super ambitious, honestly. I'm usually just happy to do the thing I like and not worry about the details, or at least try to do that. And thanks to the fact that I do have the job at GameFound, I'm able to do that for the most part. That takes a lot of the financial pressure off of the need for the channel to do as well as I would like it to. But at first, when I first started the channel, I was grateful for the idea that maybe one day it would be something I could justify doing as some sort of side income. And then it got to a point where I was like, oh my gosh, this might be able to be a full-time thing for me. It also coincided or worked out, I don't know if it's good news or bad news, but it kind of worked out that as the channel was starting to arc upwards, as I was hitting 25, 30, 35,000 subscribers, I was having major issues at work. Not me per se, I've talked about this in previous videos. I did a whole video once where I quit my job, but effectively, without getting too much into it, my job hired someone that was very good at sales, but also very toxic in the company. And he resulted in people being fired and quitting. Multiple people across the board were firing, or again, there were people who got fired because he blamed them for a lot of things, and there were people who quit because they were sick of this one person being showered with all the leeway in the world because they were bringing in a lot of sales, even though they made the entire company culture toxic beyond belief. I was in the second camp. I did not like this individual. I did not like how things were playing out. I watched multiple friends leave the company, and I got to a point that, combined with my growth in YouTube, I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to do this toxic workplace culture anymore. And so I basically told my boss, I'm quitting. I appreciate you. I had a good relationship with my boss at the time. He unfortunately has since passed away. I had a good relationship with my boss. I told him that I am unfortunately quitting. I do think this person is likely going to tank the company if he continues to stay here. And I wish you the best of luck. And without getting too much into it, my boss has agreed with me since then, although, again, he's passed away since then, so, you know. But it's, again, it wasn't really a question. And internally within our company culture, everyone knew what was going on. It just was a hard balance because the company was also struggling, and having someone who brought in sales, like, it was a hard position for my boss to be in, trying to juggle everyone's needs. It was a hard position. But either way, I ended up leaving to go full-time in the YouTube space. That was a bit of a jumping off of a bridge. And I put out a video at the time, and I can't remember the exact numbers, I'd have to go check it up, but I definitely got a lot of additional Patreon support at the time. And I asked for that. I said, hey, I'm going into a point where if I leave this job, which I was leaving, my income versus expenses are going to go into the red. And I'm hoping that I can make this work with enough leeway, savings, whatever, but whatever you can do is appreciated. And all of you stepped up tremendously. Again, my Patreon and my Patreon numbers effectively went up by, I think, roughly $1,000 a month, which is incredible. That's an incredible amount over there, and that really helped cushion the blow very heavily. And Patreon, like ad spend, are one of those things that do trend downwards over time. Every once in a while, like once a year, I do the whole giveaway video and things go up a bit, and then they trend down, and that's expected. That is part of the process. When I support someone on Patreon, I usually stay there for some amount of time, and then eventually leave. And everyone has their point in when they leave, but I don't stay subscribed forever, so it's about trying to bring in as much new people as possible while trying to quell the flow of people leaving. And that's part of why I do content on Patreon on a regular basis, to try to make sure, Patreon and Ko-Fi, try to make sure that people are at least getting something out of it. Whether you get the value from it or not, at least I'm giving something other than just saying, hey, please support me. There's extra behind the scenes videos, life updates, videos like this on a more regular basis, as well as, my Unfair and Unbalanced series, where I try to convince you not to back everything on YouTube. There's all these, on Kickstarter and GameFound, there's all these other behind the scenes stuff that goes on Patreon and Ko-Fi. But either way, the numbers kind of boosted up a bit, but money was tight. For the next several months, money was definitely very tight as I tried to juggle losing an entire income. Fortunately, I was in the lucky position at the time that GameFound reached out and offered me a job, because I had 3 levels of, I was COO at my last job, a Chief Operating Officer, and I had been covering every single crowdfunding campaign for the past, 3 years. Basically every tabletop crowdfunding campaign I had seen or covered in one way or another, which put me in a very unique position, and GameFound offered me the CMO job, the Chief Marketing Officer, as they continue to grow and to expand. We'll come back to GameFound later. Right now I'm only talking about as to how it relates to YouTube. And that was very, very helpful, because it helped me not have to worry about the money the savings being dipped into every single month, which was, it's nice. It's nice to not dip into your savings every month. And so that was it was very helpful at the time. I'm very grateful for that job for a variety of reasons, and we'll talk more about GameFound soon. But going back to the YouTube side of things, that job also allowed me to experiment with hiring people on the channel as well, to try to grow the channel in different ways. Something that has not been what I expected it to, but I'm definitely still happy with the end result. At the time, I hired Devin Talks Tabletop, fantastic, and then later I hired Meg as well. I believe I hired Devin first. Yeah, I hired Devin first, then Meg. But then I was only able to pay them very much part-time, and Devin eventually had to step away for a full-time job based on his needs. That kind of worked out with the growth of previews, in the sense that I was basically able to pivot his salary over to Meg and grow the preview operation in a way that was helpful but does have costs. There's many things that slow down the growth of a channel. Some of it is going to be the natural fatigue of a viewer of, okay, great, I've seen your stuff. And again, let me pick a channel, Foster the Meeple. Foster the Meeple, they are fantastic. When I first discovered Foster the Meeple, I watched every single one of the videos. Now I watch 1 or 2 of the videos a month. That's a natural progression, I think. And it's nothing against them. It's just that I've seen so much of the banter. I've seen so much of what they bring to the space. I don't need to see every single video. There are channels, though, that I do watch every single video. But that's definitely the exception, not the norm. And I think it's a natural part of any YouTube life cycle. And that's why a lot of these channels, if you look, one of the things that's very easy to do when you're a young upstart in the YouTube space, in the board game YouTube space at least, I know I've done it and I've seen others do it, is you compare your numbers to other larger creators and you're patting yourself on the back. You're like, oh my gosh, I got 4,000 views in that video, and Dice Tower covered the same game and they only got 3,000 views. It's very easy to do that. I have done that. I have seen others do that as they grow. It's so much harder to maintain that attention long term. It's so much harder. The fact that Dice Tower gets the views they do while putting out 30 videos a week it might be more than that. I don't even know the numbers. It's insane. It's insane what they are able to do with the longevity that they have had, the amount that they've continued to do. It's very hard for a channel to eclipse Dice Tower in any realistic way. I think Shut Up and Sit Down has more subscribers, but they also put out 1 video a week. When you put out the content Dice Tower does, I think the Dice Tower has the largest views in the space by a factor of I don't know, I think they're 4 or 5 times higher than the second highest channel out there. Not subscribers, views. Putting out consistent content and maintaining audience engagement is hard. And so that's one thing that definitely makes it hard to maintain growth, or even to just stay level in the YouTube space as you continue to be there. The second thing is, as you start to get into any form of monetization, you will lose people along the way. And this isn't purely monetization. This could even just be being viewed as a hype man in general. Even if you're not getting paid a cent, if you're just someone who's always loving games. I've gotten a lot of flack over the years for being that crowdfunding hype person, which again, if you only watch certain videos, you'll definitely get that. But if you watch more of my content, you won't. The problem is people who aren't hardcore watching the videos are most likely to tune in for the biggest campaigns. And I would say that if you are a CMON, a Go On Board, Awaken Realms, I like a higher percentage of your games than your average game. And so those things are going to be true in general. So that sense of hypeness is going to definitely be a factor. There are a lot of cynical viewers out there. I'm partially a cynical viewer. I'm more cynical depending on who I'm watching. But there are a lot of cynical viewers out there with the cynicism is based in reality. It's absolutely based in reality. As soon as someone is taking money from publishers, as soon as someone is getting these free big box games, as soon as someone is unboxing game after game and just talking about these giant boxes full of miniatures, that it's easy to have a degree of cynicism around the space as far as what they're doing, why they're doing it, do they even like the things they're talking about, are they exaggerating their claims in any way. I don't think cynicism is bad. I think tempering is a good thing too, but it's easy to be cynical in various ways. And as I have moved into sponsored content, which I started doing once I had to pay employees, again, my take home, my way of making money from the channel is going to be member support as well as the ad revenue. Member support, I have to check the current numbers. I think it's around $1,600 a month right now, something like that. And again, that was also once at a high of $2,500. I used to make a lot more money from the channel than I do now. I used to make, I want to say, close to $60K a year at the peak, at the highest high. Right now I'm at, around $1,500 a month from YouTube. I'm around $1,600 to $1,700 a month from Patreon and Ko-Fi combined. And then I take a very small cut of the sponsored content that's on the channel. So when there's gameplays, previews, most of that money goes towards paying Meg's salary. She's the one who does most of the work around it. But I do take a very small cut on top of that. All told, I'm making far less from YouTube than I ever used to be, but that doesn't matter to me. That doesn't, and don't get me wrong, to be very clear, I very much appreciate money, and I very much appreciate the leeway money that buys. But I do this because I love it, and as long as I can sustainably do it, I will do so. And GameFound as a job allows me to sustainably do that. The fact that I have a side income very much allows me to put the time and energy that I can into this. It's not always easy. I'm going to hard pivot because I had a random thought over here, but if you haven't seen the news, Shelf Clutter just decided that they are shutting down their channel. Shelf Clutter just posted what he says is his last video. Maybe he'll come back someday. I have no idea, but for right now, this is his last video. And I was talking to him before he did it because some of the things about running a channel are insane. Like my average ad revenue on a video might be like, $8, maybe. I don't think it's that high. I think that's for like my to back or not to back might be $8. My average review might be $1.50, whatever it is. And like I was talking to him about like because he had this lots of pressure of juggling everything in life, but then trying to make the channel a priority, even when it shouldn't be a priority from so many other aspects. And I have that same feeling to a degree, different ways, different outcomes, different results, but like I have the same aspect where sometimes I'm getting ready to travel and I find myself in crunch time trying to get every single video prepped. I put up 14 videos a week on average, 14, 15 videos a week on average, and I rarely miss videos. And I try to make sure I get those videos up. That means if I'm about to, like right now, today is Tuesday, May 27th. I am traveling to UKGE tomorrow. In roughly 28 hours, I'm getting on a plane. And I have so much stuff to do between now and then. Part of that is I'm going to try to film 5 videos. Why am I going to push myself that hard for what is going to roughly translate into $20 worth of ad revenue? I don't know. But I do, because I have a sense that I have to hit those numbers. I have to, I have to do what I'm doing. I have to prioritize YouTube. From a financial sense alone, it's not worth it. From a financial sense alone, I am often pushing myself last minute to crunch time and get everything done for what translates into $50 when you count the ad revenue, even if you ratio it amongst the Patreon and all that stuff. It's not a lot of money. I don't do it purely for the money. I do it as a sense of pride that I like what I do. I like being able to talk about board games professionally. I like being able to make this my life. I love this hobby. I fell in love with board games when I first started playing them in 2011, 2012. I so quickly fell down the rabbit hole. And the ability to be so immersed in a space that I love, and this applies to the GameFound part as well when I get to it, the ability to be so immersed in a space that I love and to be a part of that space. There's something so cool about it, to have an impact, both from the content creation side as well as from the GameFound side and how that's impacting the crowdfunding space. It's very cool to be part of something that you love. I don't know if it's ego. I don't know if it is. And maybe it is. It might be ego too. I don't know. But because to me, it's not necessarily about the awareness, I don't know. I don't know if it's ego. It might be ego. But I don't think it's ego, because to me, it's not about having a whole bunch of people who watch me and, I don't know. I appreciate everyone who watches me, make no mistake, but I just think I like being a part of something that I love so much, and that is cool to me. And it's cool to be able to go to a convention and be a part of the scene, not just going as someone who's just going to be a part of the games and see the games, but to be able to connect with individuals who are in the space as someone who is in the space. It's just cool. It's always been cool to me. It's something that I've talked about when I've done videos about the 10 best parts of content creation, the 10 worst parts about content creation. Content creation definitely does suck a lot of your priorities in life, and it adjusts them in so many different ways. But there's a lot of trade-offs to that. There's a lot of things that I love about the space that make it worthwhile. There's a lot of access to the newest, coolest games. There's a lot of being able to talk to people who you look up to. I was playing games from Simon, from Onev, from Chip Theory Games, and loving those games. And the fact that I can talk to the people who make those games is cool to me. It's just, I don't know if it'll ever stop being cool. I don't think it will. I like what I do. And so I push myself sometimes, even when I shouldn't. And don't worry, I am mindful of burnout. Mindful is always a tough one. Like, I'm always busy, and I think I always will be busy. But that's been true before board games, will be true after board games. I'm just someone who just goes. I always try to get things done and do things. But there are times where I push myself a little too far and I need to step back. There are times where I do that, and sometimes I'll be like, I'm doing 3 videos less this week, and I'll feel like a sense of relief. And that can be enough to like ease the pressure, to let that steam release a little bit. But there is something strange about how much priority goes into content creation from content creators, even when it's not always worth it. Like, every once in a while you see memes from content creators outside the board game space where it's like, oh my god, you don't know how hard it is to be a streamer. It's the hardest job in the world. And people like post like actually hard jobs. Like, this is a great job. It is absolutely a great job. But there's pressures to it. There's absolutely pressures to what is being done and how it's being done. Overall, to semi-summarize the channel parts, I guess, overall the channel's doing well enough. The channel doesn't need to do a ton. It doesn't need to do, again, I plan on doing this as long as I am able to and as long as it makes sense to do, which I think will be forever. I mean, forever, not forever, but like, I think it'll be for a while. But I do think there's a degree of stagnation. The subscriber numbers always go up. The view numbers have been fairly stagnant for the past, I'd say 2 to 3 years at this point. They stopped growing. They grew to that 500,000. They dipped to like around 400, and they've kind of been in that 400 range for a long time. Ad revenue is always a little different. That tends to go up a little bit in the holiday season, tends to go down throughout the year. I'd have to take a look at my yearly average to see how I'm doing. I'm certain I'm down from last year, but not by a major amount. And again, I don't necessarily care significantly. It's money matters, but it is not the reason I do what I do, because if it was, I wouldn't be scrambling to finish 5 videos that are going to pay me $20. I just wouldn't be doing that. There is a sense of internal pride in what I do. There's always a sense of uncertainty, of personal, like, am I doing good enough? Am I doing enough? Am I doing enough in general? Am I doing good enough in what I'm doing? Am I balancing it all? There's always an uncertainty around it. There's always a degree of looking at other channels and comparing yourself to them. It doesn't matter how small or how large you get. You're always going to look at someone else and say that they're doing better somewhere. And I've said this, like, historically I use Shut Up and Sit Down and Dice Tower as the way. It's easy for Shut Up and Sit Down to look at Dice Tower and be like, wow, we don't have nearly the amount of views they do. And it's easy for Dice Tower to look at Shut Up and Sit Down and say, wow, we've been doing this for like 10 years longer than them and they have more subscribers than us. Both can be envious of the other, which makes no sense. But like, I have that instinct, and maybe it's the nature of social media being so public, but I have that instinct where I'll look at another channel and be like, wow, they got that game, ignoring the games that I got that they didn't, ignoring it completely, because not everyone's going to get every game. I'll look at a channel and say, wow, I can't believe they got video out first, ignoring the videos that I got out first. It's so easy to compare yourself to others, and I have to remind myself on a regular basis to just be grateful for what I have and what I do and the opportunities presented. It is hard to stay on top of everything at any given point. Like, one of the things I've been, it's actually interesting because I started different, but I think the juggling of, of YouTube, of personal life, of GameFound, juggling all of it has led that I couldn't do it all the same way I used to. But one of the things that helped me grow when I first started is I replied to every single comment. Every single comment I replied to, full stop period. I never missed one for like the first 6 months of the channel. Then it just got too much and I couldn't keep up anymore. And ever since then, I replied to a lot of comments. Every day I put 5-10 minutes minimum into replying to comments. But it's hard to really keep up with comments. It's hard to keep up with communities. Some channels have done an amazing job of fostering their communities. Foster Meeple, Board Game Buzz, what's Room and Board. There are many, many others. I'm just giving a few examples offhand. Those are all examples that, from what I can see, they seem to engage very heavily with their communities, with their discords, in ways that really build a sense of community. And don't get me wrong, I have built relationships from my community, and I've maintained those relationships, but I don't think to the same extent that I would like to. There's a closer group of people who I've been friends with at this point in my community for a while, but then outside of that, I'm not as active in Discord as I would like to be. I'm not as active in comments as I would like to be. I often, because of the fact that when I go to conventions, I'm often juggling GameFound and BoardGameCo, I very often have very little time for extra mingling. When I see other creators who go to conventions and are able to mingle more and spend time with their communities, like Think or Theme is another great one, I'm often jealous of that. I think that's so cool and so amazing, and I wish I could do that more. And I could do that more. Everything in life is a choice. Well, we're not we're mostly not victims. It's a choice of what I'm choosing to prioritize based on the things I need to prioritize. And like I'm comfortable with my choices, but it's sad that I can't do it all. And make no mistake, if you ever see me at a convention, I'm always happy, especially at playing games convention. If you see me at Dice Tower East or Level Up, I'm often playing games with a lot of people. I'm not trying to say I ignore my community, but I don't give it as much time as I'd like. I want to interact more with others in the board game space, not just, content creators, but people who watch me in any way, shape, or form. And again, if you ever see me at a convention, please stop me, say hi. Like, I try to do as much as I can. I just wish I did more. As far as, like, I don't know, things like Instagram, I'm always trying to catch up on Instagram and be on top of things. I'm always, doing it for a few months and then stopping for a month or two and then doing it again. If anything from campaign games I'm trying to finish, there's so many things we try to do and stay on top of, and I am very happy with the things I have gotten done and continue to get done. And it'll always weigh on me the things that I'm not doing good enough at. I'm okay with that. It reminds me of a joke I just recently did on my to-back, not to-back video. There's a little joke at the end, so I do these little jokes at the end, where I said, every once in a while, I stop and wonder if I'm being too hard on myself. And then I realize I deserve it. I don't actually feel that way, but I'm okay with the general sense of responsibility that I have, as well as the sense of accomplishment that I have. I think it's a delicate balance. So yeah, that's the channel. The channel's doing well enough. I'm grateful for all of you. I obviously continue to hope that it does as well as possibly could be. I don't know what steps I can take to make it better, but I'm happy with where it is. And I hope I can continue to stay on top of it as much as possible. Gamefound. Let's do Gamefound. I joined Gamefound August 2022, and I did it because it was a great opportunity. It wasn't just about the money. The money was very helpful, like I said already, I was running in the red, but it wasn't just about the money. It was an opportunity to be a part of a crowdfunding, a space that I had been heavily involved with for the past 3-4 years of my life, and it was very cool to be a part of what Gamefound was doing. The first year was rough. Because Gamefound's biggest challenge, and I should say, everything I say in this part of the video, take with the giant disclaimer. I work for Gamefound. I'm biased. Take it with an asterisk. If I say positive things about Gamefound, consider this whole second section and add whatever it is. Like I'm not trying to justify things. I work for Gamefound. Take that into account, obviously, as I talk about Gamefound, because I'm gonna say a lot of positive things, and that's just is what it is. But the first year is rough because Gamefound is always. When you're trying to convince a creator to move from Kickstarter to Gamefound, you're trying to convince them to move from the established alpha player in the room to the up-and-coming newcomer. And not every campaign on Gamefound has been a banger. There have been many massively successful campaigns, but then there are many campaigns that didn't achieve the numbers that they wanted to. And when a creator's looking at that, it's hard to take that risk. And so my first year at Gamefound, there was a point. I don't even tell, if Marcin, the CEO of Gamefound, if Marcin watches this video, he'll find out something that I never actually told him. There was a point towards the end of my first year where there was another job opportunity that came up, also in the board game space, and I was considering it. I was considering it very heavily because I believed in Gamefound and the vision of it, but it was somewhat deflating to constantly feel like I had to convince people to take this risk that many weren't willing to take. And I was like, I like being good at my job, and I like being able to actually do what I'm brought in to do, and it just felt so challenging to actually convince creators to make the jump. It was a lot of outreach and a lot of emails and conversations and meetings, and a lot of people kind of going, well, I just don't want to take the risk. And that's a reasonable stance to take, but it was just very deflationary for most of that first year, to the point that I considered another job opportunity. I didn't take it, obviously, I'm still at Gamefound, but I considered another job opportunity that I thought would be, well, different. But things did turn around. Things very much turned around. Gamefound, there was and this is it's like one of those like snowball analogies where the snowball slowly picks up speed or whatnot as it continues to build on itself. And that happened with Gamefound. And towards the end of the first year, I started to notice more and more progress. There were more and more successful campaigns. And every successful campaign turns into another person who's willing to make that leap because they see someone else who did so successfully. So it takes a lot of time to get those first 10, but less time to get the second 10, even less time to get the third 10. It's a constantly snowball picking up speed, and that started to happen. And we ended the first year. We had internal metrics and goals we're trying to go for, and we ended the first year hitting those metrics and goals, which I was so grateful for because I was really worried we wouldn't. we ended the second year knocking our metrics and goals out of the park again, and we are on track to hit at this point I'm at 3.5 years, whatever it is. With August 2022. So I'm not yet at 3 years. We're going to be, when 2025 ends, I'll be ending at 3.5 years, but it'll be our third year full of goals, and I think we're on track to hit those goals as well, which is amazing and incredible, and I'm very grateful for that. GameFound went from struggling to get campaigns to being able to get, I think it was 6 out of the 10 top funded board games in 2023. It was 8 out of the 10 top funded board games in 2024, and I don't know what 2025 is going to be like, but we're doing very well in that category. And I'm very proud of the numbers we've achieved. There's still an uphill battle. There's still very much an uphill battle. Like, the biggest problem at the end of the day is when you have a failure on Kickstarter, people look at that campaign and go, oh, well, I guess it didn't fund as well. When that exact same thing happens on GameFound, it should have been on Kickstarter. You should have been on Kickstarter. That shouldn't have been on GameFound. This happens all the time. And there's so many examples, and I literally have lists of examples because this is my job to do this. But like, there's so many times where, Call of Duty, it did not fund nearly as well as it should have. If that had been on GameFound and funded twice the amount, it would have been labeled as a GameFound failure, as opposed to just, misread the market in some way. What's it called? Dead Reckoning? Not Dead Reckoning. Oh my gosh, what's that? Oh, I'm going to blank on the name. The one, Sea of Thieves? No, I don't remember. I don't remember that. I can't remember the name of it offhand, but there's a lot of campaigns that don't do as well the second time round. And if that happens on Kickstarter, it's just, it is what it is. When it happens on GameFound, it should have been on Kickstarter. And that uphill battle will be there until GameFound is the dominant player in the space, full stop, bar none. Because at the end of the day, Kickstarter does have the bigger audience. GameFound just has a better platform, better tools, and a higher average spend per backer, and a lot of other things going for it. Which means I have lists. One of the things I have, and I might be doing a full video on this. I've been struggling because I want to talk about this. I actively want to talk about it, but it effectively is an ad for GameFound, so I've been struggling whether to do it or not. I might do it. I don't know. We'll see. But basically, I track reprint data. One of the things I do, it's the close way to comparing apples to apples. And so I track reprint data when you're comparing, different campaigns. And I have to pull up the exact numbers. I don't know them offhand, but they're very, very positive for GameFound. But in 2024, let me see if I can remember the numbers. So I think it is, I finished doing this. Basically, I covered all the reprint campaigns in 2024, meaning if it's a campaign that has, I don't know, we have Dawn of Madness over here. If you have Dawn of Madness and Dawn of Madness reprint, so that's a reprint campaign, when you're reprinting the stuff and putting out more expansion content and all that. So across all the reprint campaigns in 2024, I believe, this is going by rough memory here, so take it with a grain of salt if I'm wrong, because I just finished the numbers for the year. The average GameFound reprint, meaning if it's a campaign that went from Kickstarter to GameFound, the average GameFound reprint is funding 73% higher from the new campaign versus the old one. This is an average, it's not every campaign. The average is funding 73% higher. On Kickstarter, the average is funding 4% higher, which means when you're comparing as close as possible to apples and oranges to oranges, GameFound's just knocking it out of the park compared to Kickstarter on those numbers. For 2025, the numbers are even better. The average, and there's less campaigns because we're into 2025, but the average reprint campaign in 2025 on Kickstarter is funding 2% lower. On GameFound is funding 123% higher. This, again, is an average. If I do a full video, and I'll be going a lot more into the things to know, the backer counts, the averages, the little asterisks you get, taking out anomaly data. There's a lot of other things to go into, but however you structure it, the numbers look very positive on GameFound's side. And I try to use that effectively as a tool to be like, hey, here are the numbers and here are where things are. And we've been incredibly successful at bringing people on board. And I'm very happy with that. And the biggest thing is for most creators, I want to say all creators that I've brought on board have been happy with the results. Every single creator I've brought on board has either continued to use GameFound exclusively or gone back and forth picking and choosing campaigns. But no one that I've brought on board has walked away. To be clear, creators have used GameFound and walked away. The creators I brought on board, I'm very into reasonable expectations and trying to drive home things. For example, with that reprint data, I will tell you all the good numbers about 73% higher, but I'll also tell you, but also 33% of GameFound reprint campaigns fund lower than the original. So yes, 73% higher is the average, but 33% fund lower than the original. By the way, it's 66% on Kickstarter fund lower than the original. But again, I try to give you those numbers too, because I'm not just trying to sell you on the high numbers, I'm trying to work with expectations. My biggest thing is I want someone who is happy with their choice, not just to bring someone on board. And because of that, I tend to be very low salesy. I show you the numbers, I show you the data, I talk about the pros, the cons, the risks, I tell you what I think I would do, or if I'm uncertain. I really try to go through it as much as possible. And that's not like a casual thing. thing. There are many creators who I've actively encouraged to use Kickstarter, especially if their expectations, I think, are out of line with what is reasonable. If a creator wants a campaign to do 500,000 and I think it's going to do 200,000, I encourage them to use Kickstarter. I encourage them to listen, because again, it's that same point I said earlier where if it funds 200,000 and you expected 500,000 on Kickstarter, you'll sit there and say, oh, okay, I guess I was wrong. If you do it on GameFound, you'll say I should have used Kickstarter. That mental thing, it's going to take a long time to unseat that mental thought, which is just the way it is. That's just, again, there's no complaints here. That's the nature of being the up-and-comer in a market where Kickstarter's been here for 20 years or however long it's been here. But overall, I am very happy with my job at GameFound. There were a lot of uncertainties I had around it when I took it, whether I could juggle the channel and GameFound well, and I'm certain I've lost viewers over that. I mentioned, like, 3 things: fatigue, sponsorships. I'm sure I've lost viewers because they're not happy that I have this role at GameFound, and I'm doing this double role over here, where on the one hand, I'm like, bringing people on board to GameFound, and then later I'm reviewing that game, and that could produce a conflict of interest, which I completely get. Hopefully, if you watch my content enough, you'll see that there doesn't seem to be a bias, but, you have to watch. I think you have to watch all my videos to actually do that, or a lot of my videos. If you just watch that one video where I'm praising a GameFound game, it's going to be very easy to sit there and say, oh my gosh, look at this shill. Contrast with, like, Final Titan, which is not Final Titan. No, not Final Titan. Nexus, which is on GameFound. Nexus, I did sponsored content around the game. I did a sponsored gameplay. They are a GameFound company. I'm the one who brought them to GameFound originally for Scarface, and I just gave the game a 3.5. And I like it. I like Nexus, but I just like it to the tune of a 3.5. If you watch my videos on a regular basis, you'll see that I give, and by the way, if you play Nexus, I think it's a fun game. I don't think that, because, like, the flip side of that is people will always say, oh, well, it should have been a 2.5, not a 3.5. No, I don't think it should. If you play Nexus, I think you'll have a fun time. I think it's a good game. I think it's a reasonable 3.5. I didn't bump it to a 4 because it's a GameFound company or because they did sponsored content. But again, you have to watch all the videos, not just the one where I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this game, because I do love games. I do have so much fun in this space. So GameFound, I'm very grateful for it. I'm grateful for the fact that GameFound is giving me a job and an opportunity when I did need it financially. I'm grateful that it has continued to be a place that I'm proud to work at. I'm grateful for the fact that it has grown in the space. Like, it's doing. I'm proud of what GameFound is doing. I feel GameFound is there for backers in a way that, frankly, I don't think Kickstarter has been. I think that there's been a lot of, like, if you watch, like, the most famous one is the Tioza game table, but, like, and that's another thing, by the way. I will acknowledge I don't know all the behind-the-scenes working at Kickstarter. I do know that I've seen certain things that I'm like, I don't understand how this could happen, and it wouldn't happen this way on GameFound. I know that. But I can tell you that the things that are in GameFound, whenever something looks fishy, it's almost certain that we already have an eye on it and are keeping our eye very closely on things. Like, there are times where we have been actively monitoring crowdfunding campaigns that look a little fishy, and, if they're not funding, it is what it is. We keep checking things. We've removed fake pledges. We have shut down campaigns. GameFound very much does care about the backer. And I'm not trying to proclaim it as some, very giving, caring, kind, whatever. I think it's just in our best interest to do so. It's in our best interest to protect the space, and protecting the space means protecting the backers. Anything from stable pledge to how quickly there were, like, updates and internal plans around the coding and the development needed to provide creators and backers with tools around tariffs. GameFound is constantly trying to be on top of the space and be there for the community because we're self-interested. I should be clear. I'm not trying to paint GameFound as a generous, caring about everyone, plain and simple, nor am I trying to present it as corporate greed. I genuinely think that if you are a good person, it'll all work out. If you care about the community, that's a good thing and it'll help you too. I think in general, just it all goes together. It all goes together. And I'm very proud of my role at GameFound and GameFound's role in crowdfunding. And so I'm grateful for that overall. This video is way longer than I intended, by the way. Way longer. I'm sorry for that. Which I guess brings us to the last thing. Generally, I guess everything else, like I said already, I don't have anything specific to cover here. Life is good. Life is good. I'm always overwhelmed, but that's always been the case for years now. And for me, there's two aspects. There's juggling too many things and just being on top of that. And then there's juggling too many things and feeling the stress of it. Right now, I'm in the first category where I'm not feeling the stress of it. I do find that stress does happen. Sometimes you hit certain travel seasons where you're traveling too much. Or just like, I remember when I was moving, that was a big deal. Like, trying to keep up with everything while moving, like, that I think broke me a little bit at the time. I'm fine now, but at the time I was definitely feeling the pressure. I'm always juggling too much. I'm always trying to play too many games, to film too much, to get my GameFound work done, to spend time with my kids. I'm always trying to do as much as I possibly can, and I am very happy with the balance that I've achieved. I'm very happy with the amount that I've gotten done in all of those categories, from personal to both my professional lives. I'm happy with how my time is spent, and I'm grateful for all aspects of it. There's so much more that I want to do. I want to play more campaign games. I want to be more on top of Instagram. I want to spend more time focusing and building community. I want to put more time into GameFound. I have all these side projects at GameFound of things I want to do that often take a backseat to the immediate need of the moment. There's so much stuff. There's so much stuff that I want to do in life, and I'm grateful for all the things that I am able to get done within it. There will never be enough time. There never will be. And that's just, again, I think that's true for most people. We're all pushing ourselves a little too far in different ways. We're all feeling the brunt of life in general in different ways. But overall, I think I'm grateful for mine. I'm very grateful for mine. Like, I did a video of my top 10 New Year's resolutions earlier this year. Or not top 10, 10 New Year's resolutions. And like, some of those I've knocked it out of the park on. Some of those I've absolutely failed on. I still have time. I still have 6 months left or 7 months left. But I think the overall balance of it is, if we don't focus as much on the things we aren't getting done, but we focus on the overall progress we've achieved, I'm very happy with where my life is now compared to where it was a year ago, compared to where it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. It's never easy to measure any one up or down or whatever, but the overall state of the channel, of GameFound, my personal life, games I'm playing, the games I'm not playing, the overall state of it is pretty darn good. So thank you. Thank you for the part that you play in that. I don't know how long this video actually went. I just know that I realized the time and I'm way overdoing it. And so, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from BoardGameCo. I appreciate you being a part of my life, of my journey, of a big third. I would say YouTube is like a third of my life in general. And I think that you being a part of that has definitely helped it continue to be where it's at, where it's going, and whatever's next in my life. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from BoardGameCo. I appreciate you being here, and as always, I hope you have a good one.